All right, welcome to another episode of Pacific Rims. I'm Rick, that's Greg, and our special guest today is Otgonbayar Tenuun. I did it again. I cannot believe I did it. Otgonbayar Tenuun, a
Thank
developer
you very
on
much.
many fronts, including one of the architects of basketball growth in Mongolia and the sport's popularity in the country. He's president of the Mongolian Collegiate Basketball Association since 2018 and a graduate of Harvard. Thank you so much, Tenuun, for joining us here. Really looking forward to finding out more about Mongolian basketball because it's been on such a growth curve. But I want to start with, how did you start playing basketball?
Thank you guys for having me, and it's an honor. I was pretty much deeply engaged in basketball when I went to the States to play, not to play, but to actually I went there for high school. So the love
Okay.
for that game began with the barrier of learning a second language, English as a second language. So when I went there, I did not speak the language that the back in 2000, when I was 13, 14 years old. I went there to explore a new world, which a love for basketball. I found basketball as is my language to actually communicate and open up with these people, and because I had a difficulty in speaking in English, because I was learning. So, and basketball actually gave me that language. So probably I think the reason I wanted to explore and open up with these people was I found basketball as my language to actually play in the court and then to communicate with the society. And then I think this is not just a sport; it's a communication ability to open your world to the whole nother level. So I think that was actually pretty much my idea of basketball. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Tenuun, we talked about it when I was in up in Mongolia last. I've been to Mongolia a couple times. The first time for vacation, a tour around. 12 years ago, there wasn't really much basketball being spoken about. You would talk to people, and they knew about it, but they weren't really into it. This last trip I went to, you have DeMarcus Cousins playing in the Pro League. You have the college basketball, the MCBA basketball finals, the college
Mhm.
basketball finals packed with big fanfare. It was a complete different world from my first experience there to this last time. What were some of the big things that you think happened in basketball and the growth of the game there that happened over the last 10 or 15 years?
I think the passion for basketball, like when we were growing up in the 1990s, and from the socialist to democratic transition, the opening of NBA and the culture, it was still there, but the boom, what just happened was that seeing NBA stars and the seeing 3-on-3, and also keeping up the pace with sustainable development and engaging with these college basketball kids within the community was one of the success, because everywhere you go in the countryside and the streets, and we had courts, 3-on-3 courts everywhere almost. We had concrete floors. We didn't have that the fancy facilities that developed countries like have. So but every corner, every countryside, or every herders area, that they had small or big basketball or small courts. So we had to keep that pace, and then we had to breed that grassroots starting from college basketball. So probably that was pretty much one of the impactful things that we committed ourselves, and then our sustainability of passion for the game was never ending, and then it was just kept going and then going, and then we were trying to create different ideas, unique things, and then we were running, and then we were in that pace where should we copy NCAA or should we copy, like, because we had to copy the good cases. So I think that was a booming fact, and also probably probably the resilience, the adaptiveness of Mongolian people, the nature. They're pretty much they don't really talk. They just energy wise they communicate, and then probably 3-on-3 was is something that we had in our blood, but still, and then because we are kind of people that in when it comes to sports, we don't have we've never actually achieved any team plays that team sports. We only had we have a Mongolian wrestling, and then we have judo, which is a combat sport. So we didn't have that 3-on-3 team play. So that kind of small things that affected, and then that strength of Mongolian harsh winter, or that we have to survive, that actually helped us to develop the indoor games in Mongolia, probably. Yeah.
Why do you think that basketball in particular was such a cultural fit? Why did Mongolians gravitate and embrace it the way that they have?
That's a pretty interesting question because when it comes to sports, you see Mongolians as so they're dominating in sumo world. They've been yokozunas for the past 30 years almost. We're in wrestling, and when you see basketball, it's because maybe the nature of young demographic, because our median age is 27.1, which is the young adults and youth is over 30% of the population. So it might have engaged, and then while as we are millennials, while we were growing up, we grew up watching Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Chicago Bulls and Lakers, and we were a huge fan of Kobe Bryant, and then everyone, because me growing up in LA also impacted that small things, but still, everyone in Mongolia they're fond of American culture, and back in the 2000s, like everyone's dream was is just to go to the States and then watch NBA. And like each Mongolian's dream, they want to see a kid from Mongolia to be able to fit in the NBA. That's actually every Mongolian's dream. So everyone has a one big dream, that to get uh, any Mongolian to be fit in the NBA. So probably that influence actually affected us, and then that 3-on-3, and then the facility was definitely impacted us because we didn't have that full court facility in Mongolia. We only had the half court. So that was the
Yeah.
only place that we could actually have pick up games. So that street games was actually the origin and the passion that we grew up playing back in the 1990s,
How
2000s.
much how much how much do you think it's the game of basketball and sort of the style and the way the game is played, and how much is it the culture of the NBA that is attractive, or is it both? Is there one above the other?
I think it's both, because recently we had for the past 10 years we tried to systematically develop 3-on-3, but back in the 19s and 1990s and 2000s, it didn't have any system in it. But after that, after the FIBA and then the basketball community decided to develop 3-on-3, we just got it. We were like the people. I think this is something that we can actually achieve and get the most out of it, because the way we play the game is that, because 3-on-3 is pretty much the toughness, and then the physicality, and then the resilience, and also especially when it comes to the harsh winter, we kind of connect without without talking, without communicating. So probably 3-on-3, the area was much smaller than 5-on-5, and then they could
Right.
feel the game easily, and then they could actually feel each other without communicating. I think that was just
So
the essence of it, I think.
yeah, if I'm getting it correctly, it's sort of the unspoken language of basketball, like
Yes, it is the unspoken
the
language of it.
nonverbal communication that you have, and that's particularly prevalent with 3-on-3 more so than 5-on-5.
Yes, it is. I think so. Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
believe.
Okay.
The The first time I really noticed basketball in Mongolia was in our tournament last year with Etugin University coming and competing and really kind of shocking the tournament pool of teams from China and Japan and Korea and being competitive, more than competitive. They're beating big time schools. These players at this level coming to play abroad. You got the East Asia Super League where you have your pro teams going to other pro markets to play. You have now one Mongolian Mike Sharvamps, who just finished up
Hmm.
his 4 years of college and may be considering a G League or an NBA opportunity. How important do you think it is for these players to go abroad, compete, train, uh, and come back and try to pursue the highest level of basketball, or come back to Mongolia and lift the level of the game? How impactful do you think that will be for basketball there?
I think it's one of the most important things to actually mention because when it comes to that I'm focused in student youth league. So like 10 years ago, we didn't have any because NBA or the NCAA Division One was miles away, like 1,000 miles away, a million miles away from us, and then it will definitely they fix the path of young athletes, and then it will have their because when we were growing up, we did have certain clear paths where we're going to be, and then what kind of jobs or what kind of education we will get. But there is this new era of student athletes and then professional athletes that is becoming an education for us. That is becoming a real job for Mongolians. So they see themselves, or these parents are seeing their kids making their sons and daughters as a professional athletes. Because back in 10 years ago, our parents they would scold us that how are you going to survive playing basketball? How are you going to survive being a professional athlete? There is no point in Mongolian society. You try to be a professional athlete and you're feeding yourself and you're feeding your family. I don't think that was impossible. But now everything has changed, and then now these parents, these millennial parents, actually uh, educating and then teaching their kids, and then even focusing on their diets specifically, how what kind of medicine or what kind of vitamins I should give him, and then how would it be possible to actually make him taller than the rest of the kids, and small things. And then I even had a podcast with this Barspol, the Barspol's parents, like the mother. The mother is focused. She's a millennial, and she's focused in giving these kids enough sleep, enough vitamins, and then enough mental health, physically and mentally. She's supporting, and then Barspol's younger sister, she's almost being drafted to the professional leagues. She's only 17, and then she played in our JCL. So it's crazy how everything is changing rapidly. It's like a bullet
Yeah.
train. Yeah.
I uh, I know DeMarcus Cousins. Many years ago, he and I actually did a sushi rolling contest against each other because he was a big fan of sushi and he had a favorite particular sushi chef in Sacramento when he was playing there. And so I know that he has a certain degree of interest in exploration, if you will. And at the same time, I know that he can be very challenging. And so I'm wondering how did you lure DeMarcus Cousins to Mongolia to play professional basketball?
I that question I have to ask the owner of the team, but the essence of Mongolians, they Mongolians are naturally very aggressive people when it comes to sports.
Okay,
when it
DeMarcus
when it
fits
comes
that. Yeah, DeMarcus fits that profile.
yeah, and then we are not surprised that Marcos has that character aggressiveness.
Yeah.
And
So that was the
it,
attraction. That was the attraction for Mongolians or a Mongolian owner to go get DeMarcus and see if he'll come over and play. But on the flip side, look, most of these guys are making lots of money, so I'm sure that the money was an attractive piece of it. But at the same time, I would think that there had to be something more that appealed to him. And obviously, that's a question probably for him. But I'm wondering if you have any insight into what you think or what you've heard as a result of him being there was what compelled him not only to go, but to come back.
Probably, in my opinion, I have to say three things maybe. Um, Probably the untapped and never heard, because not a lot of people know about Mongolia, even though they know about Genghis Khan. Probably
Yeah.
that might have that raising his curiosity of that basketball and then the country. The second one probably how do I say the lamb Mongolian lamb. we have
Okay.
we have over 70 million lamb, not lamb, the livestock in Mongolia. So we're only 3.5 million population, and most importantly, probably the woman. I have to
Okay.
say.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That, we checked all the boxes. Okay.
When it comes to Mongolians, a lot of people see us more like a Asian culture, or they don't know what kind of culture that we have because we are in the middle. We're in the middle of Russia and China, and we're
Yeah.
landlocked, and we're a
Yeah.
buffer country. But our society, our culture is completely different. The way we think, and then we see ourselves as open and democratic. We're one of the most democratic country that is between Russia and China. And then
Yeah.
we love American culture. We love Western culture. We admire Korean, Japan, and we're like we want to adopt everything, and then we want to copy and then maybe learn a lot of things from a lot of from different cultures. So we
Yeah.
are an international Mongolians who are living in Mongolia. Even though we're
What?
landlocked, but we're not brain locked.
Yeah. Yeah. Understood. Not mentally landlocked,
Not
right?
mentally landlocked at all. We go out there and
Yeah.
then we pursue, and then our curiosity is probably the highest when it comes when you are like pretty much locked for like in between Russia and China, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you take the greatest satisfaction or pride in that has been accomplished through basketball for Mongolia?
That this 10-year-old came up to me and then said, "Thank you for organizing this junior club league, and then I appreciate it, and then you're doing pretty well, like Tenuun." And then she taps me on my back, and then I was like, "This is something else. This is the generation that is gonna take care of our country." And then because uh,
Mm.
I'm happy that I'm passionate. I'm happy that supporting these kids, and then there are things that are more than money, because you cannot buy these kids' words with money with anything. And this kid comes up to me and they says those kind of things, and her mentality and their love for game, and then keeping their time in the court, not on the streets, is something that I'm actually happy, and then something that I'm
Sure.
actually willing to give all my efforts, and this is the small things that gives me that feeds me, meaning like that
Mm.
makes me happy, giving back to the community, and then giving investing in their dreams. That's something that just keep pushing me and moving me. There's these kids, and then there's because we had to like go back to 10-year-olds in order to see the future of Mongolians, like Mongolian athletes, professional athletes. So
Mm.
the investing in 10-year-olds was the greatest things that actually gave me a meaning of passion and the love for these sports. Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah.
Looking into the future, the next 5 or 10 years, taking what you've learned the last 10 years, what do you think are some of the big initiatives for basketball in Mongolia that you guys will be focusing on?
As for college basketball, definitely AUBL gave us a whole nother level of international recognition of national basketball in Mongolia. That is, whoever is getting the championship on that year will actually pursue a path to compete in the international arena, in the Asian arena. So that's one thing. Another thing is that not just basketball. What we are trying to do is that we're trying to scout some of the students who are living in our JCL to maybe Tsinghua or maybe the Asian top universities. And I really want these kids to actually have a clear view of the Asian big basketball leagues and then Asian big basketball universities. That they could actually be able to actually get athletic scholarships from JCL to maybe Asian top universities, because that wasn't possible back in like maybe 5 to 10 years ago. But now it's everything is in our doorsteps, and then I think everything is pretty near. And then I think now I see why people say the world is flat. This is becoming smaller and smaller. So I think I love the fact that we are communicating through basketball, and then I love the fact that this thing that we are doing, I think it's a big philanthropy for our future generation. Like, and then thank you, Greg and Rick, for having this amazing podcast, and maybe this is something that a lot of people wanted to actually shout out to Asian and then to international arena, because nobody actually hears and notices our country. But now through basketball, through 3-on-3, through sports, we are being noticed, and then I'm happy for that. So I think sport has no boundaries. That's probably the amazing word, right?
Agreed. Agreed. I mean, that's a big reason why we're doing this, and we have this International Basketball Podcast Network, because to your point, like the ability to basketball, I think as much as any sport in the world right now is starting to unite and bring everybody closer together, and we're identifying new places, particularly in Asia, Mongolia being a great example of what it can do and what it can be and where it can go. So with that in mind, before we let you go, what's the big dream? Like, whether it's from the national program or the national team, like what is your vision that when you dream about what basketball has done for Mongolia, this is the thing? This will feel like we've climbed to the top of the mountain.
Whenever I encounter 10-year-olds and then basketball student athletes, I always ask them, "What's your dream?" And then now I get to answer my dream.
That's right.
My sports and my basketball dream is, I have so many dreams in different fields, and my sports and basketball dream for this young generation is I think what I feel is that in order to survive, I want these kids to be able to actually afford and to be able to live comfortably in their own country. Meaning, I don't want them to go out and work in America or in Korea, or like, I want them to be able to be with their parents or maybe with their families, and then playing their sports, not going out to Australia to work and then come back. And then so I want these kids to, even though with only 3.5 million people and in the middle of Russia and China, I think we are crazily impacted by sports culture, that especially basketball, that we can reach everywhere. Meaning, our goal is to be able to reach to everyone through basketball and sports, so that every kid's dream could have that passion and the pathway. Because even though you want to go to the NBAs, you want to be a professional athlete, but the only thing that is moving us is that the kids that is growing now is the economic engine of our country. So probably that's the important thing for me, to actually keep them engaged, keep them off the streets, and keep them off the screens, but on the court. So keeping them on the court and then off the screen, probably one of the smallest things that will impact their lives, and then it will give them that family structure, stability, and then how they are being disciplined through sports. And then we need discipline and the structure and then system in our sports culture and in our sports field, and especially basketball. That's what I think. Yeah.
Well said. Tenuun, it's been a pleasure to get to know you and to have this conversation. I'm excited about, genuinely excited about Mongolian basketball. I love what you're doing. It's a passion of mine to see people evolve through basketball. You get to the heart of, it's not the sport, and it's not necessarily being great at the sport. It's what it can teach you and what you're able to share with others as a result, the community that it creates. To me, that's the heart of what sports can give us. And it sounds like you're of the same mind and on the same path. And so I personally wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's an honor, guys, and I really want this. How do I say it? This philanthropy, this passion of mine to be able to help a lot of young kids, and also it's just a small contribution that I could not stay away from it. It's a passion project, but I lacked those kind of things when I was growing up. And then being able to go to the States where basketball was originated, let's say, and I was able to find myself. And then I was able to open up, and then I was a pretty shy kid. And even though I couldn't speak that good English, level of English, I had a passion for basketball, and then it generated me, and then it helped me to socialize, and then that social glue helped me to open up, and it saved me from being isolated. And I think I will never actually forget that power that basketball had in me.
Rick, we'll be hosting a couple games in Mongolia with the AUBL. I think February would be perfect for you to come to get the real Mongolian winter experience. So put that in your calendar. We'll set things up for you.
Hey, I want the full experience. So, however brutal it may be, I went to school in New Hampshire, so we had some winters. I'm sure it doesn't compare, but I've had a little taste of it. I'll say that.
We will keep you warm from inside, because we have a Mongolian milk vodka, and then mare's milk, fermented mare's milk.
So I've
That'll
heard.
keep
So
you
I've
warm.
heard. I was doing a little research on Mongolian culture. Hopefully we can have you back sometime and we talk about the next evolution of basketball and all that is going on in Mongolia.
Amazing. Thank you guys for having me, and hope to see you guys soon in Mongolia. Welcome to Mongolia. We're there. We're happy to host you guys.
Sounds good. All right.
Thank you, Tenuun. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Have a good day.
All right. Interesting. Really interesting. I didn't know anything about Tenuun, but he has such a holistic approach to this in terms of, I mean, it's really, really touching understanding what basketball did for him coming to a foreign country where he didn't speak the language, and how it allowed him to assimilate to the culture even when he didn't speak the language very well. That it makes a lot of sense, and that he would want to take that back to Mongolia and kind of create that same dynamic is, man, it's a great story. It's inspiring to hear somebody operating with that sort of mindset.
Yeah, not only taking his experience, but being able to come back to Mongolia, kind of rally the troops around him, and to execute and to see results. Now it's a legitimate basketball market that certainly at the 3-on-3 level, every team or every country needs to take seriously. And I think over time, the 5-on-5 will continue to develop as well. And, teams that can kind of sleep on them aren't going to be able to do that in the future.
Yeah. All right, I want to pivot to the Japanese B.League because we're in the playoffs and we've already had one major upset, which I can't wait to break down with you. But were you at the Chiba game?
Went to the Chiba game yesterday.
Okay. So we got boots on the ground in the B.League playoffs, and that series, if I'm not mistaken, is 1-1, correct? Between
1-1 with
Chiba and
games.
Gunma?
1-1 with game 3 tonight, and I'll go back every time. Last since COVID, I've been going to games in Japan, and 2 or 3 games, and every time I go to a game, I'm jealous, a little bit jealous. I wasn't born 25 years later,
Hmm.
because the environment, the arena setup, the basketball gameplay, like from A to Z, the experience here is so much better than it was. We're talking
Yeah.
about Mongolia, but really you could take a look at Japan from 25 years ago, the JBL days to today, and it's big time. And then you go talk to the player, you talk to the Japanese players, you talk to the import players. How do you like it? Where did you play before? What's your experience like? And they're all like,
Yeah.
this is just an incredible place to play. I want to stay here. This is where I want to be. And not only that, you can make a really nice living with everything around it. But really impressive. Game yesterday was Gunma won game 1 by about 20. Came out flat yesterday. I think
Yep.
Chiba really had to make a statement early on. Uh, but Chiba kind of held on to the lead and ended up winning in front of a really tough crowd on Chiba's side. And then game 3 is tonight. And going back to what I said last week, it is incredibly difficult. I think it's probably more difficult now than it was 25 years ago to win 2 games on the road.
Yeah.
Uh, Utsunomiya lost at home twice, which is a bit of a shocker. And then Gunma today is looking for their second win. Can they do that after a really hard fought game yesterday? We'll see tonight.
Yeah, so the Diamond Dolphins beat Utsunomiya twice at home. Is that correct?
Correct. Which
That's
Utsunomiya was second in the league in the regular season and kind of ran through teams outside of Nagasaki. But Nagoya came in and really, I think, surprisingly won fairly easily. Yesterday's game was
how,
pretty close, but fairly easily.
how do you explain that? Because I think when we talked about going into the playoffs, it was Nagasaki and Utsunomiya, and there was a bit of a separation, if I'm not mistaken, between them and everybody else. And so that's what surprised me. I don't know where this stands in terms of upsets in B.League playoff history, but I gotta believe it's at least on the table.
So I think the big thing here is it's a thing that the NBA sees as well. The season here is a marathon. The playoffs are much more of a sprint than the NBA. They're 3 game series. The Final Four is all in one location. It's like a 2 week process. Some of the teams are pretty beat up, and some of them are maybe on their second import coming in or third import that's coming in for. They finish the season somewhere else and they're coming in. They're starting to gel. Chiba certainly has that. One of their key players, Josh Mooney, he broke his hand, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, and they've replaced him.
Ah,
And so there's a learning curve with your import players. Are they at the same level as the guy that you had before, playing together? The team chemistry and those type of things. I think some teams are factoring that, and I think maybe Utsunomiya was dealing with some injuries that they
yeah.
couldn't quite replace or fill in the gap quick enough to win.
Is so there are no rules in terms of who you put on your roster when. Like there's not a cutoff date in terms of bringing somebody in for the playoffs or adding them to the roster.
There is not, and I think you've also seen it in China as well in the CBA. A guy gets hurt in February, and you need a replacement ASAP because you're in the playoff run or you're about to start the playoffs. This time's a little bit easier because some of the leagues, the G League's finished, Australia's finished, but who's available and who's healthy and who can come in quickly, and you got to deal with visas and those type of things. So
Yeah.
those are all things I think GMs probably at all times have to have a list of agents and players that they have in mind on call, because you never know when a guy breaks a hand or twists an ankle and can't play for a couple weeks.
I meant to ask Tenuun to kind of circle back to Mongolia just for a hot second because of their playoffs. I saw at one point there was like an 8-day layoff
Yep.
between playoff games in Mongolia. Do you know what was behind that or what is behind that?
So my assumption, I'd need to dig into it. My assumption is they have one arena that all the teams play in, and it's a great gym in the heart of Ulaanbaatar, about 5,000 seats. Seats are on top of the court, but they only have one. And so the beauty of that, if you're a player or a coach, you don't have to travel anywhere. But the challenge is gym availability. So they're sharing that gym with all the other playoff games. They're sharing that gym with the university. The universities in our they're in the AUBL play in that gym. They have concerts and all other things that are going on there. So
Hmm.
my guess is it was gym availability, which is, I think there is word that they're building multiple gyms in town there. So that'll help alleviate those scheduling issues.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, so Nagasaki is waiting to play the winner of the Gunma Chiba round, right?
Correct.
Is this now at this point? Is this Nagasaki's to lose based on the season that they had and with Utsunomiya out, or was there something that you saw in Chiba and Gunma where you're like, you know what, they might have something, they might be on a heater?
I think it's been Nagasaki's season to from day one, throughout the
Okay.
regular season. The interesting thing with Chiba is they do have Yuta Watanabe, who will match up with H.J. Lee, the Korean, the import player at Nagasaki. So
Yep.
now he's 6'8". He's played in the NBA. He's a great defender, Watanabe, and he will be locked in. And Lee is an incredible basketball player. He's an incredible player playing without the ball, moving
Sure.
and getting open. But my guess is Watanabe will be. You're not doing that. You could do that against other guys, but I'm going to be locked in on you. But then you
Yeah.
got Stanley Johnson and you got Nasir Little. That matchup is kind of interesting.
Yep.
And so to me, I would kind of like to see that matchup, but Guma is quite gritty, and they have Kerry Blackshear, a Florida Gator alumni, who really is a solid player, and he lifts guys up around him. So we'll see tonight what happens. But the Chiba matchup with Nagasaki could be pretty interesting with the lineups that they have.
For sure, for sure. No offense to any of the Gunma fans that might be listening to this broadcast, but those matchups would be fascinating. Lee and Watanabe alone would be fascinating to be at the heart of that. I don't know that a lot of times when it comes to playoffs, it's like the best players cancel each other out, and then it's what can your support crew do? Where is your third, fourth, fifth best players? Can they win their matchups? And that often is what tilts a series.
When I played, it was the 2-on-2 game with the imports, and you kind of had, okay, we got to keep our stats around there. Of course, we want to win. But in the end, your local players were the ones that were going to elevate and win the game for you. Now it's a little bit different because you have Asian imports, you have the American European players here, the Japanese players are much better than they were. No knock on it, but there's more teams and more players playing now than there were 25 years ago. So the skill level and development of players overall is much better. So that dynamic is not quite as much as it used to be. That's one thing I've noticed over the last couple of years watching here.
All right. Well, that covers it. We will have an answer in terms of who Nagasaki is going to be playing, whether we get our wish. I want to thank Otgonbayar Tenuun for joining us and giving us all there is to know about Mongolian basketball, where it's been and where it's going and why. Greg, as always, thank you for the insight on the B.League on the B.League playoffs. We will continue to use you as a correspondent for that, along with everything else, and we will do it again next week.
Thank you.